Welcome back to another episode of Farmer George. Today we are going to show you how to crossbreed peppers outside. And this is a little trickier than inside because you have more environmental factors such as the temperature can play a role, actually plays a big role, and potentially bugs or wind, because that can blow the pollen and pollinate your plants that you don't want to be pollinated because you want a certain outcome, and that's why you're crossbreeding. Let's go take a look on how we did it.
These are the tools that you're going to need to crossbreed your plants. First, what you'll do is you'll need I prefer a dark colored shot glass because the pollen is a bright yellow and you can really see it contrasted against the black shot glass. So if you're using a clear shot glass, it's really hard to see the pollen. So that's the first thing you'll need. The next thing you'll need to collect the pollen is when you use this Q-tip on the back of the flower to tap lightly on the back of the flower while holding the shot glass in the other hand, so you can collect the pollen that comes off of the flowers when you tap it. The next thing you're going to need is your forceps, and you're going to use these to get the petals and the stamen off of the flower. And I'll show you what those are when we get out there. The next thing you'll need is to mark your flower. So once you have a selected flower, you're going to want to take the zip tie and put it around the plant so you don't, because once you go in, you'll forget which peppers you're crossbreed, and they're all going to look alike until the following year when the traits of the new plant come out. The next thing you'll need is a cut up piece of plastic bag. I just use a Ziploc bag because you're going to put this around the flower once you've pollinated it, so no other pollen can get into the flower and ruin the crossbreed. Then you're going to tape that piece of plastic down together so it doesn't fly away. And then lastly, you're going to create a label with the seed plant, so whatever plant you're pollinating, and the pollen plant. And this is the proper way to label a cross. And I usually write the name of my crossbreed on the back, or I'll make an identifying marker to say, okay, which one was this out of my crossbreeding attempts, because I've had a lot of attempts that failed. So this helps me track which ones failed and which ones stuck. So the first step in this process is you want to find a bud that hasn't fully opened. Unfortunately, this was the bud that I wanted, and it's just been a couple hours since going back inside, and it started to open up. So you see this barely has started to open up, but that means pollen's already being produced, and it could have self-pollinated. So you don't want to take that one because you could just end up with the same plant that you're trying to crossbreed. So that wouldn't be good. Here's an example of one. This one right here, it's pretty good. I might use it if I don't find another one. And then here's an example of a bud. I don't know if you can see it, but the petals, this one right there, the petals are still a little green, so that means it's too immature to use. So I think we can do a couple actually, so it gives us a better chance. So I think we're gonna use this one, and there's one up here, that one, and I thought I saw one more. This guy, one more. We'll try to crossbreed 3 different ones, and because it's so hard to get them to take, especially outside, that it's better to have more than one when you're crossbreeding so that you hedge your bets. And actually, I just saw one over here, so that'll be number 4. That guy. So we're gonna see how much pollen we collect first, because if we don't get any pollen, there's no point in going through the painstaking process of taking out the petals and the stamen from these plants. So the next step in this process is to collect the pollen, and you want to use a plant, first of all, that's capable of pollinating the seed plant. So you have to figure that out looking at the species of the certain plant you have. And I'm going to, in the description, I'll show you which ones can cross with which. You can see that this plant's got a ton of flowers. All those flowers that are open. And remember when I was talking about the tools, I have my black Las Vegas shot glass and my Q-tip, and I can't show you how to do this, but I'm gonna tap the flower, the back of the flower right here with my Q-tip, and I'm gonna hold the shot glass angled so it hits the side right there, so I can just pick the pollen up from the side of the glass with the flowers and start the pollinating process. So let's see how much pollen we can get. So as with a lot of my videos, they come with trial and error. I wasn't getting any pollen when I was gently tapping the flowers with the Q-tip, but look at all that pollen I have now. And that's because I flicked one. I decided to flick a flower because I was getting a little frustrated, and this huge puff of pollen came out. And that's mostly from one flower. So if you have a ton of flowers and it's not too hot outside, so that the flowers won't fall off when you flick them, you can flick your flowers pretty hard and in the back and put your shot glass underneath, and it'll give you a puff of pollen, and that's exactly what you need. That's even too, we don't even need this much, but this would be perfect. So the next thing to do, since we collected enough pollen, is to use the forceps I have and cut off the petals and the stamen. So I'll have to show you one by one, but because this is definitely a delicate process. Also, what you want to do is you want to kind of clear around the bud. So I'm going to get rid of those little leaves around the flower so that I can put my actually this whole big stalk up here above the flower, so that I can put my plastic bag on top so that no pollen gets into the pollinated plant. So the first step for me was to clear away all the branches and extra buds and leaves, because when I put the plastic bag over this, I want to tape the plastic bag to this main branch. I've also noticed how I marked this bud with a zip tie so that I know if the plastic bag were to fly away or the tag were to fly off, that zip tie is not going to go anywhere, and it's not going to get ruined with the weather. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take off the petals and the stamen. I'll show you what the stamen are. Those are the pollen producing parts of the flower. So let me show you what's under the petals. So I took off a couple of the petals to show you, and those dark gray green things are the stamen, and those are what create, I don't know if my camera is going to focus, so I'm sorry I can't get you guys a close-up, but we're going to take away the stamen, and then we're going to just leave the pistil, which is the female part of the plant, which collects the pollen, and then that forms the pepper. You can barely see it. It's that little white thing hanging out of the flower. That is what's called the pistil, and we're going to dunk the flower into the shot glass and rub the tip of this pistil on all that pollen that was in there. And then we're going to cover up the flower with a plastic bag and tape it, and we're going to put our label on it, and then we'll be done. Alright, so I have the plastic bag taped to the top of the plant. Notice how I don't have it taped to the flower because I don't want the flower to fall off. This one I might have screwed up. I think I pressed too hard on the pistil. You see it's kind of crooked now, so hopefully it'll take, but that's why you do a couple flowers. And the pollen I used and the peppers I used, I'm crossbreeding. I'm doing a jalapeno and a ghost. Put the seed plant on top, the pollen plant down below, and then I numbered it. This is my 8th attempt this year. I've only gotten 1 out of 7 before, Okay, and now we're back, and I could only find 3 flowers that I really wanted to pollinate. So I've marked them all. I got their numbers on the back so I can identify them on my spreadsheet. And they're all covered so they won't get pollinated. So I had an idea yesterday to prevent, or to help prevent the buds from falling off the flowers that we pollinated. There's some moisture in there. I don't know if you can see it, but when it gets really hot during the daytime, because it still gets to be about the mid 80s, all the moisture that's captured in this plastic bag gets stuck, and there's like a greenhouse effect inside of the plastic bag. So what I'm going to do today is just snip a tiny little hole at the top so the moisture can escape from the top, and hopefully it won't be so hot and humid inside of this little plastic bag, and we won't lose the flower. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Let's see if I can do it with one hand. Just literally a tiny little hole at the top. Just right there. You can barely see it, but there's little risk of pollinating it again. I mean, hopefully the pollen's already set and we already have a pepper coming, so I just don't want to lose that bud. Today we're going to be checking on the progress of my crossbreeded peppers. Well, hopefully we crossbred. Let's see if the buds are still there. Okay, so we got one bud there. Here's another one. So bud number 2 is good. And then we got bud number 3. So all the buds are still on the plant, which is a good sign. But once I know that a pepper is coming, we're gonna take the bags off. But for now, it's been 5 days since we've crossbred these or pollinated these, and so far so good. So check this out. Today is September 3rd, and unfortunately, this one didn't make it. You see the bud fell off. Also, same story with this one. Number 8 didn't make it. There's the bud, just fell off. But check out number 9. There's the crossbreed right there. So 1 out of 3 made it, which is great. So this is a successful cross. This little guy, well, hopefully it seeds once we grow, will be a new breed of pepper next year. So we'll find out.
1 out of 3 out of this cross attempt isn't too bad. That's about 33. That is 33.3333% in total for 2018. I've only successfully crossed 2 peppers outside, so it's a 20% chance. 2 out of 10, so 20%. I made some notes that you should keep in mind when you're doing this. It works best outside if the weather doesn't go above 85 degrees. Once it starts to get above 85 degrees, the plant decides to protect itself and not put out any more flowers, so the buds tend to fall off. Another thing is, I think it was beneficial to cut slits in the plastic bags so there's no greenhouse effect, just tiny ones so you allow the moisture to evaporate out of the plastic bags. Oh, another thing that's important, especially if you're doing more than 1 cross in a day, you want to make sure that your utensils that you're using, the forceps and the shot glass, are all clean, and not just soap and water clean. You got to clean it with alcohol, rubbing alcohol, because you don't want that pollen from a previous cross to end up crossing inadvertently a new plant. I told you that you want to also make sure the species you're crossing, because peppers have different species, believe it or not. I'll put a link to a useful website that I found that showed me which species are compatible with which. You don't want to waste all the time and effort of crossbreeding two plants that aren't compatible with each other. That would just be ridiculous. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something today. Let's share and grow together. See ya.